The disciples experienced Jesus in an altered state of consciousness experience. Jesus and those who knew him were quite familiar with an adept at experiences of alternate reality. In fact, Jesus would have been trained himself to induce alternate states of consciousness experiences. So would Peter, in Acts you hear about stares that are described, gazes. Accounts of Jesus' baptism, transfiguration, walking on the Sea of Galilee, and post-death or resurrection appearances readily fit into the common Mediterranean cultural experiences of altered states of consciousness, even when the experience is reported incompletely or selectively. When Jesus comes walking on the Sea of Galilee toward his disciples, first, they are frightened, right? Isn't that what happens first? What's going on? I'm not in control. My cerebral cortex is going off. Second, they don't recognize Jesus, right? They think he might be a ghost. Third, Jesus calms them. Take courage. Be not afraid. That response that's given more than any other phrase in the Bible, 365 times. Fourth, Jesus identifies himself. It is I. You start to try to work out what could it be. If you're in our culture, is it a Bigfoot? Is it a swamp ape? Chupacabra? Alien about to abduct me and experiment on me? What could it be? Because that's in our cultural consensus reality, see? It is I. Mr. Spock? No, Jesus. So far, so good for an ASC experience, right? It seems to, remember, these are pan-human experiences. All humans are capable of them. So it seems to line up good with the model. These accounts of the walking on the sea story. Matthew illustrates what happens when a person breaks the trance, which can happen if you fail. Let's say, why would you be going into a trance? Well, why would Jesus want to induce people into a trance? Well, here's a suggestion. Perhaps he is training others to be Zadik, to be a Chazid, to be a Israelite shaman, folk healer. In order to do that, he has to train them to become familiar, to go from consensus reality into alternate reality.
Where favors are granted.
Where favors with the patron of Israel, the God of Israel, in Sky Vault, are readily available. Like healings. So in order to get there, he's got to bring them in. So inviting them, right? And Peter goes, oh, can I come out to the sea? Can I walk on the sea in alternate reality? Can you do that, by the way, in consensus reality? That's just not possible, right? But in alternate reality, it is. Right, Joe?
I don't know.
I don't know. Very good answer. It's an honest answer, brother. What is alternate reality? What is consensus reality? Are you at least open to the idea that what we perceive the world to be is not all that the world is?
Yeah, but
What I mean by alternate reality is not delusion world. I want to make sure you understand what I mean by that. That's the world as it really is. Yes, Joe?
that was water. He was walking. Water.
No, Joe.
No. The boat was on what? Sand?
No, Joe.
The boat was on water.
No, Joe. What we perceive to be water is part of our consensus reality.
You know what I feel is happening here?
Tell me.
That you're taking words out of the Bible, that if you give it to us now, we say it's crazy, it can't be, what? And you're taking the old-time religion and you're making it fit into the way we think here.
No.
Yeah, because otherwise you're going to be lost. You're not going to get.
Actually, I'm doing precisely the opposite. I'm trying to read what our ancestors in the faith. I am using the insights of anthropology, neurobiology, the social sciences to understand what is common to both my world, because we're human, we have the same brain that they had, capable of the same 35 plus different states that they have, right? All right, so, and I'm trying to see what would be a culturally plausible understanding, given, first of all, understanding C and understanding all these things and their own experiences honestly as they would. So I am using insights from modern biblical, culturally informed biblical scholarship, but I'm not. But I'm trying to use that properly in order not to read anything into the text, but to actually bring out from the text what it's saying.
Not the way we think today. The way we think today, that was water. It was walking on.
It's not just time. It's not just time, Joe. It's also culture. It's culture. When we look at this is how it is, Joe. So there's a mystery called sickness. When you and I look at it, being Western people, we look at it through a disease view and say, disease. That's our interpretation of the mystery called sickness. Sickness is common to all human beings of all cultures of all times. Let's bring in Jesus, let's bring in Mary Magdalene, let's bring in Peter and his mother-in-law, right? They're going to see sickness too, but they're going to interpret it as what? Illness. There's an other than human person here causing the fever. It's the demon named fever. And what we're going to try to do, you and me, Joe, is go seek out a medical professional who will biomedically repair the biomedical malfunction we call disease, right? When we look at a sickness. But what these other people are going to do is barter with alternate reality and bring back meaning to the person's life who's suffering from the illness, and that's called healing. It's not better or worse. Joe, it's a different way of looking at the same mystery. Let's go to the sea. When you and I, there's the mystery we call sea. When we look at it, we see it as a body of water governed by physical laws of the universe, part of the total environment that is the universe of a matter-energy system, right? Wait, Joe. No, Joe. Now, that's called, that part right there is, and I don't mean this in any way offense, is you're in my American arrogance. Extreme arrogance. No mystery, meaning you understand it completely. It's completely licked. It's completely solved. No, that's a very arrogant posturing of that. I'm sorry.
They knew 2,000 years ago.
Of certain aspects of reality, Joe. When we look at things through science, we hone in, amen, on certain aspects of reality, and we cover many up. Right? We cover many up. Stephen Hawking, the great astrophysicist, says, what breathes fire into these equations? What he means is there's a big leap between calling the center of a black hole a singularity, which is a mathematical mythology, one that highly corresponds to reality, and what is actually the mystery called a black hole at its center. No. Everything is chock full of mystery, Joe. Science, empiriologically, looks at something from one aspect of reality. Oh, how arrogant we would be to conclude that we have exhausted the said reality we are exploring. The reality is it's a mystery that keeps giving more and more and more light as we explore it further and further, and never exhaust it. Our consensus reality determines the road or the contours, gives us the contours by which we can interpret it. So we say, matter-energy system. That's not untrue. It is. It is. But an ancient person would see a person. A more powerful, other than human person that has a tempestuous mood swing and can kill you like that. And if it wants, can swallow a village if it wants to. Right? Okay, moving right along. Matthew illustrates what happens when a person breaks the trance. Peter in Matthew is walking on the sea in alternate reality. He's not convinced that he is really seeing Jesus, and he demands, well, before he walks on the water, on the sea, if it is you, bid me come to you on the water. By the way, when we say on the water here, we don't mean scientific water, H2O. Jesus says, come, and Peter progresses towards Jesus. But then the wind startled him. His fear and skepticism returned, and he begins to sink, as will happen whenever one steps out of alternate reality back into consensual reality, meaning out of a trance state into a waking state. You do this all the time when you're in a nice dream. Have you been in a nice dream?
Yeah.
Flying around, everything's great, and then suddenly, you're waking up. Why can't you recapture? Because you're going out of alternate reality into consensus reality. Yes, Rose. Linda, sorry.
So, in the context of what you just said, is the boat the agent of a different state?
The agency is God.
The agency is God.
God is the one allowing these people to go into a higher reality.
I guess, but if
How they're interpreting it is their culture.
given that to go out to meet Jesus on the water is an ASC,
Yeah.
is the boat,
Maybe they're all on the beach in trance.
is the boat,
Maybe they never left the beach. By the way, who said they're actually? Who said they're in maybe in consensus reality? They're back on the beach.
my question is,
Yeah.
is the boat representative of the state he was in before he went?
Could be. Could be that the whole thing about them being in a boat and imagining a storm. Have you ever dreamt of a storm?
So maybe he's from one state to another, whatever state he was in,
Could be.
he's now in another one. He stepped out into another.
Yeah, it could be that he's doubting and suddenly maybe I'm not, and then he's losing the trance and he's failing at the initiation.
Oh, so he's not well rehearsed or well trained.
There's always a danger when you go through a ritual initiation that you might fail in the initiation. Like Judas? Yeah.
Don't you see what you're doing? You're taking, again, the old-time religion. And if we watch this in the 21st century, we say, what are you kidding me? Walking on water can't be.
Yeah, right.
But so you need an explanation because you're going to lose me and everybody else here, see? Can't be.
Is that the reason that's what I'm doing?
Now you're giving me another.
No, Joe, I'm not
You're
pitching.
changing
No,
the
Joe.
religion.
No, Joe, I'm not pitching anything. See, Joe, this is the thing. Joe has come here to this class longer than anybody else. He's my most loyal.
Even longer than you.
Well, it's true. Well, Bible Alive, since I've been doing Bible Alive here, Joe's already been involved in a bunch of Bible studies that maybe shouldn't have been called Bible studies. No offense to the people who ran them. I know that's going to sound arrogant. I don't mean it to. I'm just very strict with how I define what a Bible study is. And a Bible study is not, to be fair, a Bible study is not let's kumbaya and all head nod, or one person dictates what everything means, and that's, no. I'm not trying to pitch you anything. I've had people come to Bible Live that are of many different traditions and no tradition at all. That's between you and God. If you're going to be convinced of something, let it be through the actions of the people here. But what I'm talking about here is what would be plausible to the authors and even the people they're writing about. And sciences of cultural anthropology, the social sciences, neurobiology tell us that this is a pan-human capability that is regularly and routinely experienced by 80% of the world's cultures.
When did they come up with all these new explanations?
Joe, we've already been through those classes about 2.5, 3 years
How come
ago.
they're not preaching it from the pulpit?
Joe, because is the point of Mass a Bible study?
No, but
To go into cultural sciences and to go into neurobiology? Is that the way? And I'm asking you, is the point of Mass let's explain what's supposed to be happening when we sing holy, 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 and we're supposed to fall into trance at that point? Or is the point of Mass, let's just do it?
Yeah, but I want to do
And
it.
is the point of Mass, you want to do it?
Oh, no, I want to do it with something I believe, not a story.
Well, this is the thing, Joe. I understand. You and I cannot perceive things like the way our ancient Mediterranean ancestors and faith did. No, it's not about just so much about time, Joe. It's about how we are in a different cultural situation that gives us a different cultural consensus reality. An agreement that everybody has. We didn't democratically vote on it. We were programmed into it, conditioned into it as Western Baltic personalities. We have a different way of looking at reality. And by the way, we're starved, our culture, according to Arthur Kleinman, cultural psychologist, our culture blocks ASCs because we tend to not like anything we cannot control. Arthur Kleinman, a cultural psychologist. And his understanding of why we block it is, that, by the way, it makes us the anomaly, Joe, because the vast majority of people on Earth regularly and routinely today experience these things. So the one who has to be explained, the culture that doesn't experience them because it's blocking them? Who's the mutant? Who's the anomaly? Or the 80% of cultures that regularly and routinely do? And by the way, why does our culture so rationalistic and totally controlling everything and never giving in to a total lived experience, which is prerequisite to actually experience these things, by the way, obsessed with drugs? Because we're starved for these experiences, and so our young people turn to rock and roll, and which is nothing wrong with rock and roll. It's things that stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, and then do drugs, dubious means of forcing an alternate state, which causes harm to the body, by the way. Why do we do that? Maybe because we're starved of these experiences? Matthew illustrates what happens when a person breaks the trance. Peter is not convinced that he is really seeing Jesus, and he demands, "If it is you, bid me to come to you on the water." Jesus says, "Come." Peter progresses toward Jesus. But then the wind startled him. His fear and skepticism returned, and he began to sink, as will happen if one steps out of alternate reality back into consensus reality, out of the trance into a waking state. Maybe he's in the boat in trance. It's like John of Patmos in the book of Revelation. Goes into the sky vault, Joe, but he never leaves the earth physically. He's in trance. The trance experience will not continue in the waking state, just as a dream interrupted does not ordinarily resume after the interruption, despite diligent attempts to fall back asleep again into the dream. Hey, thanks for watching. Just continue the playlist for the next part of the study. If you have further questions, this is good. They will get addressed, so keep watching. If you found value, please subscribe, like, and share. As always, questions, comments, and criticisms are most welcome. God bless you.